We're about to kick off the 2024 season in like 3, 4, 5 days, whenever everyone is watching this. And we thought we should talk about a particular rookie that we're both really excited to see, someone that we were high on, but fell to the Cowboys in the 5th round, and that is Caelen Carson. For the Cowboys cornerback room, Trayvon Diggs is coming off an ACL injury. He is physically ready to go, but we don't really know. Those things can take some time. On the other side, Deron Bland is out with a foot injury that's probably going to cost him at least 4 to 5 games to start the season, which means that Caelen Carson is probably starting in week 1 against the Cleveland Browns. The Cowboys didn't go out and get a corner. They didn't make a move to go out and sign anyone of note. So in week 1, as a 5th round pick, what stuff did you see on Caelen Carson's college film that he can really hang his hat on in week 1 and over the first month of the season?
You know what, Zach? The interesting thing about Caelen Carson coming out was he literally fell. Like, I was extremely surprised that he fell to the 5th round because outside of the speed issues, you see a guy who's super instinctive, super experienced. He could play in zone. He could play in press. And I think that he makes up for his lack of speed. Now, it scares people when you start talking about speed at a stopwatch position. It does. But on film, if he wasn't beat clean, he really wasn't beat because of how physical and how gritty he is. And I think that's the part that people have to realize. Sometimes with these late round corners, one thing could be the reason why they fall. For Caelen Carson, he's not slow, but he's not a burner. And the NFL is a speed league. That is what it is. But we've seen guys come in this league, i.e. Richard Sherman. There have been a few other corners who have come in this league, Zach, and stuck. Why? Because they had amazing instincts and they were just darn good football players. And that's who Caelen Carson is. You saw it on film at Wake Forest. You saw him against pro level receivers, Keon Coleman. I mean, the list goes on. And this guy was able to do it. I think the most important thing that we have to remember is his ascension. He was able to do it in real time this camp. And I think that's very impressive, Zach.
One of the things on film was how much film he had. He played over 25 career college games. Obviously, a lot of experience. I know going into week 1, he's never played in the NFL, but it makes you feel better that he has just played a lot of football. And you mentioned Keon Coleman. He's played NFL receivers. He did show that grittiness. I loved his ability to read and react, especially in zone coverage, just see ball, hit ball. And he showed a lot of good things in man coverage, and certainly a lot of good things in Cowboys training camp. We saw that video of him locking up Tyron Billy Johnson, stuff like that. He's played well throughout training camp. It means, more now because we're in week 1. He needs to continue to get better. We need to continue to see that ascension from his play. But how do we expect Caelen Carson to play in week 1 versus over the course of the season?
Okay, so a few things to keep in mind here when comparing him to a guy like Deron Bland. Both 5th round picks, but Deron Bland was able to ease his way into basically a starting role. I call the Deron Bland ascension the forgiveness of Kelvin Joseph and Nashawn Wright. Love both of these guys coming out. They just can never get it right in the NFL. I mean, I'll never forget, Zach. We're watching the Jags game, and we literally watched Kelvin Joseph lose the football game. And it was just like, and for as many times as maybe Deron Bland has gotten beat, he's never lost you a football game. And so you just knew that Kelvin Joseph, after that game, and, I don't even think he's on the NFL team right now. He ended up getting cut again. That's just who Kelvin Joseph is. And when it came to Nashawn Wright, love Nashawn Wright, but he's just a career backup. And so entering Deron Bland, he X'd out both of those guys when the Cowboys went corner back to back. Now enter into the chat, Caelen Carson, another 5th round pick, except he doesn't get that leeway. Game 1, week 1, Jerry Jeudy, here we go. But I don't have this feeling of worry, Zach. It's the strangest thing. Like, I know that he is going to struggle, But I also feel like he's gonna make plays and he's gonna trust himself because that's just what you see on tape. He knows his limitations. He knows who he is. Week 1, he could give up a catch. Week 1, he could get beat. I don't think that anybody should panic. I'll never forget Trevon Diggs against Washington year 1. Terry McLaurin just completely obliterated him. And not only that, that was the year that defense was just wasn't great. It was just a bad look. But I'll never forget that Diggs' energy never changed. One of the things that I learned and love about Caelen Carson is he's just a fiery somebody, Zach. He's just a guy who wants to tackle, wants to get in your face. So I know that's a long-winded way to come back to Zach. I think that he'll struggle at times, but ultimately I think he'll be fine.
I do think and expect Caelen Carson to take his lumps. Am I expecting Kelvin Joseph level lumps? Hopefully not. And the cornerback position is so volatile. It's all over the place. If he goes out there, he gives up some catches, gets beat. It's the position. For Carson, though, I don't want to see explosive plays. I don't want to see him give up big plays in this game. Keep everything in front of him, tackle, keep everything in front of him. That seems like the most important thing, especially against Jerry Jeudy and Amari Cooper. But we all know overreaction Monday. That is the biggest thing in sports.
This video is brought to you guys by BetUS. All your betting needs, futures, hockey, football starting, football's here. We got football till February. Baseball, basketball, BetUS. And if you sign up now, they're running a promotion, 125% bonus on your first 3 deposits. You can't beat that. BetUS.com. Go show them love. All your betting needs, they will take care of you.
So do you think people should be too up or too down on Carson if he plays good or bad?
The responsible fan will not be down, Zach. The overreaction of a lot of these fans will be down. And I'll say this to give Cowboys fans a little bit of ease. The Cowboys are known to cover themselves if they think that there's going to be an issue. Zach, the Cowboys haven't brought in a guy that you think would say that, like, they haven't went and gotten a Patrick Peterson or a guy who we know is not going to come in and just back him up. We know he's going to come in and play. The fact that they haven't done that lets you know all you need to know.
Yeah. The Cowboys, we know how much they love their veterans, their highly touted guys that they thought were really good in the draft, even if it is somebody like a Patrick Peterson. I mean, we saw it with Dalvin Cook.
Yeah.
An older player, but a name that holds weight. If they were really, really uncomfortable with Carson and him being out on the field in week 1, they would have 100% signed somebody by now. They would have tried some way, even if it wasn't fresh legs and if it was an older veteran, they would 100% have made that move. So that gives me a lot of hope in Carson. Even if it doesn't play great in week 1, I expect him to get better and better as the season goes on until Deron Bland's back. And hopefully he plays so well that the Cowboys are having a conversation about Bland moving back into the slot and Carson on one side and Diggs on the other. What would you think about that? Do you think that would be a possibility? Would you like to see that happen? Or are you like a Deron Bland needs to stay on the boundary?
I'll say this. It's hard to put a guy on the bench if they play good football. And I think that Bland is your future in the slot anyway. And so if it comes down to that point, they're already throwing a rookie into the fire. The last thing that you want to do is what? Kill his momentum, kill his mojo, and kill his confidence. So for me, Zach, I 100% think that if he plays good, you keep it as is, and it's a good problem to have, and you have an even more dominant secondary.
100%.